Hey everyone, welcome back to the Archetype Archive, your honest space to understand relationships, people, and yourself. I'm Maya.
And I'm Jordan. And today, we're talking about something that might make you feel a little called out.
Oh no, starting with the truth bombs.
Because today's topic is about why you keep attracting the same person in a different body.
Yes, different name, different face, same exact pattern.
The anxious-avoidant trap.
And before we dive in, we just want to say thank you.
Really, thank you. We saw all your comments in the last episode.
The people who commented seen, that was incredible.
It really was. And so many of you shared your stories about attachment styles.
Some of you recognized yourselves as anxious, some as avoidant, and a lot of you said, wait, I think I'm dating my opposite.
Which is exactly what we're talking about today.
Because there's this pattern, this dance, where anxious people and avoidant people find each other over and over again.
And it's not random.
No. It's psychological. And once you see it, you can't unsee it.
So this is a B2 level episode, which means if you miss a word here or there, don't worry.
Just relax, listen, and let the conversation guide you.
And later, we'll have our word journey, where we break down the key vocabulary.
Very calm, very clear, very useful.
Unlike the anxious-avoidant dynamic.
Exactly.
So if you're enjoying these conversations about psychology and relationships, don't forget to subscribe.
And today's task, if you've ever dated the same type of person repeatedly, comment the word pattern below.
Just one word, Pattern. It helps us know you're here.
All right, let's begin. Jordan, I have a question for you.
I'm listening.
Have you ever noticed that some people have a type?
Oh, absolutely. Like, I only date tall guys, or I'm only attracted to artistic people.
Right, but I'm talking about something deeper than physical type.
What do you mean?
I mean the person who always dates people who are emotionally unavailable.
Oh, that kind of type.
Or the person who keeps attracting partners who are, clingy or overwhelming.
So not what they look like, but how they behave emotionally.
Exactly. And this happens most dramatically between anxious and avoidant attachment styles.
The two we talked about last episode.
Yes, and when these two types meet, something really interesting happens.
What happens?
Well, they're drawn to each other, like magnets.
Wait, really? But they're opposites.
They are, and that's exactly why it works, in the beginning.
I don't understand. How do opposites attract an attachment?
Okay, so let me paint a picture. Imagine an anxiously attached person.
Okay.
They crave closeness, they want constant reassurance, they fear abandonment.
Right.
Now imagine they meet someone avoidant.
Who values independence and space?
Exactly. At first, the anxious person sees the avoidant person as like this challenge.
A challenge.
Yes, the avoidant person is a little distant, a little mysterious, not immediately available.
So the anxious person thinks, I need to win them over.
Exactly. And that activates their attachment system.
Their attachment system. That's the part of your brain that monitors closeness and connection, right?
Yes. For anxious people, that system is hyperactive. So when someone pulls away, even slightly, alarm bells go off.
They're leaving. I need to hold on tighter.
Exactly.
Okay, so the anxious person is drawn to the challenge. What about the avoidant person? Why are they drawn to the anxious person?
Great question. Because the anxious person, in the beginning, makes the avoidant person feel wanted.
Oh, that makes sense.
Avoidant people still want connection, they just don't trust it. So when someone pursues them, showers them with attention, it feels good.
It confirms they're desirable.
Yes, but here's where it gets complicated.
Okay.
As the relationship progresses, the anxious person wants more closeness,
Right?
and the avoidant person starts to feel trapped.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so the avoidant person pulls back.
And when they pull back, the anxious person panics.
Exactly. which makes the anxious person pursue even harder.
Which makes the avoidant person pull back even more.
And there's your trap.
Wow, that's brutal.
It really is, because both people are just trying to feel safe.
But they have completely different definitions of safety.
Yes, for the anxious person, safety is closeness.
And for the avoidant person, safety is space.
Exactly. So they're both asking for the one thing that triggers the other person's fear.
That is such a painful dynamic.
It is. And the hardest part is, both people usually think the other person is the problem.
Of course they do.
The anxious person thinks, quote, "Why won't they just love me properly?"
And the avoidant person thinks, quote, "Why are they so needy?"
Exactly. But neither is wrong.
No, they're just incompatible. Without a lot of work.
Or, they can be compatible if both people are willing to grow.
Right. But let's talk about what this actually looks like in real life.
Yes, so I have another story.
I'm ready.
My friend Alex, we've known each other since college.
Okay.
And Alex has dated, I think 5 serious partners in the last 8 years.
Okay.
And every single one has been emotionally unavailable.
Every single one?
Every single one.
That can't be a coincidence.
It's not. Alex has anxious attachment.
So Alex is unconsciously attracted to avoidant people.
Yes, and it follows the same pattern every time. First, there's intense attraction.
The spark.
Yes, the person seems interesting, a little mysterious, not desperate.
Which feels different from people who are too available.
Exactly. Then, things get good for a few weeks.
The honeymoon phase.
Right. But then, the partner starts pulling back.
And they stop texting as much.
Yes, they're busy more often. They need space. They seem distant.
And Alex panics.
Completely. Alex starts texting more, asking, "Are we okay?" Suggesting more dates, trying to fix whatever's wrong.
Which pushes the avoidant partner further away.
Every single time. And then eventually, the relationship ends.
That must be exhausting.
It is. And the worst part is, Alex always blames themselves.
I was too much. I was too needy.
Yes, if I had just been cooler about it, they would have stayed.
But that's not how it works.
No, because the avoidant person would have pulled away anyway.
It wasn't about Alex being too much. It was about the avoidant person's fear of intimacy.
Exactly. But Alex doesn't see that.
Because when you're anxious, you think, if you just try harder, you can make them stay.
Yes, which is why anxious people keep choosing avoidant people.
Why? Why do they keep choosing them?
Because the avoidant person confirms their core belief.
Their core belief. What is that?
For most anxious people, the core belief is, "I am not enough."
Oh,
So when an avoidant person pulls away, it feels familiar.
it confirms what they already fear about themselves.
Exactly. And strangely, familiar pain feels safer than unfamiliar love.
That is one of the saddest things I've ever heard.
I know, but it's true.
So what about the avoidant side? Why do they keep choosing anxious people?
Because anxious people confirm their core belief too.
Which is,
For avoidant people, the core belief is usually, if you get too close, you'll trap me or hurt me.
so they're afraid of losing their independence.
Yes. And when an anxious person pursues hard, asks for a lot of closeness, needs constant reassurance.
It confirms their fear that intimacy equals loss of self.
Exactly. So they pull away, which proves to them, see, I knew relationships were suffocating.
But they're creating the exact dynamic they fear.
Yes, both people are creating the thing they're afraid of.
That is wild.
It really is. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy for both of them.
Self-fulfilling prophecy.
That means you create the outcome you fear by the way you respond to the fear, right?
Exactly. Like, the anxious person fears abandonment, so they cling, which makes the avoidant person leave, which proves the fear true.
And the avoidant person fears being controlled, so they withdraw, which makes the anxious person cling harder, which proves their fear true.
Exactly. It's a loop.
So, how do you break it?
That's the question, isn't it? And the answer is awareness first.
Awareness.
Yes, you have to recognize the pattern while it's happening.
Not after the relationship ends.
Right. So if you're anxious, you need to notice when you're chasing someone who's pulling away.
And ask yourself, am I attracted to them or to the challenge?
Yes, that is such a good question to ask.
And if you're avoidant, you need to notice when you're withdrawing from someone who wants closeness.
And ask yourself, am I pulling away because they're actually too much or because intimacy scares me?
That's powerful.
It is, because most people in this trap are not aware it's happening.
They just think this is how relationships are.
Exactly. They think the problem is, I keep picking the wrong people.
But really, they're picking the familiar people.
Yes, and familiar feels like chemistry.
Wait, so that intense spark people feel,
Might just be your attachment wounds recognizing each other.
Wow. That changes everything.
It really does, because people often mistake that intensity for true compatibility.
But it's actually just triggering each other's patterns.
Exactly. Real compatibility, healthy compatibility, often feels calmer.
Calmer?
Yes. When you meet someone secure or someone who's working on their attachment, it doesn't feel like a roller coaster.
It feels steady.
Yes. And for people used to the anxious-avoidant dynamic, steady can feel, boring.
So they leave the healthy person to chase the unavailable one.
Exactly. Because the drama feels like passion.
But it's not passion, it's anxiety.
Yes. That is exactly right.
So many people are probably going to recognize themselves in this.
I hope so. Because recognition is the first step.
And then what? What's the second step?
The second step is breaking the autopilot.
Breaking the autopilot. What does that mean?
It means noticing when you're about to repeat the pattern and choosing differently.
Can you give an example?
Sure. So let's say you're anxious and you go on a date with someone who seems, a little distant.
Okay.
Your immediate feeling is, oh, this is exciting. I want to win them over.
The old pattern activating.
Exactly. Breaking the autopilot means pausing and asking, wait, am I attracted to them or to the chase?
And if the answer is the chase, you walk away
Yes, even though it feels wrong.
because your nervous system is screaming, no, this is the one.
Exactly. Your body thinks familiar equals right.
But familiar just means familiar.
Yes, it doesn't mean good.
What about for avoidant people? How do they break the pattern?
For avoidant people, breaking the autopilot means staying when they want to run.
Not ghosting, not pulling back.
Right. It means noticing, okay, I'm feeling suffocated right now. Is this person actually too much, or is this my fear talking?
And then communicating instead of withdrawing.
Yes, like saying, hey, I'm feeling overwhelmed. I need some space tonight, but let's connect tomorrow.
That's so much better than just disappearing.
It is, because it gives the anxious person reassurance while still honoring the avoidant person's need for space.
So both people get what they need.
Exactly, but it requires communication.
And self-awareness.
Yes, both people have to know their patterns.
But what if only one person is doing the work?
Then the relationship probably won't survive.
That's tough.
It is, but you can't heal someone else's attachment wounds.
You can support them,
But they have to want to change.
Exactly. And if they don't, you have to decide if you can accept the relationship as it is.
Not as you hope it will be.
Right. Because hoping for change without seeing change is just denial.
That's real.
It is. And it's okay to walk away.
Leaving doesn't make you weak.
No, sometimes leaving is the strongest thing you can do.
You know, I'm thinking about Alex's story again.
Yeah?
Did Alex ever break the pattern?
Actually, yes. After the 5th relationship ended, Alex finally went to therapy.
Good.
And the therapist asked one question that changed everything.
What was the question?
What would happen if someone was actually available?
Whoa.
And Alex realized that would be terrifying.
Wait, why?
Because if someone is fully available, fully present, then Alex couldn't blame the distance on the other person.
Oh, so the avoidant partner was a shield.
Yes. As long as the partner was unavailable, Alex never had to be truly vulnerable.
Because you can't be rejected by someone who was never really there.
Exactly. That is so insightful, Jordan.
So what happened after that realization?
Alex started dating differently. When that familiar spark showed up, that they're hard to get feeling,
Alex recognized it as a red flag.
yes. And instead, Alex started paying attention to people who were, consistent.
And how did that feel?
At first, boring.
Of course.
But Alex stuck with it. And eventually, boring started to feel like peace.
That's beautiful.
It really is. Because peace isn't exciting, but it's sustainable.
And it lets you actually build something.
Exactly. You can't build on chaos.
No. Chaos just keeps you in survival mode.
Yes. And a lot of people mistake survival mode for being alive.
That hits.
I know. But it's true.
I think a lot of people listening are recognizing themselves right now.
I hope so. Because if you see the pattern, you can change it.
You're not stuck.
No, you're not stuck. Even if it feels like you've repeated this pattern 10 times.
11 is when you break it.
Yes. Or 12. Or 20.
The number doesn't matter. What matters is awareness.
And choosing differently.
So before we go into the word journey, let's give people some practical steps.
Yes. Okay. If you're anxious and you keep choosing avoidant people,
You listening?
notice the spark. If you feel intensely drawn to someone because they're hard to pin down, pause.
Ask yourself, am I chasing connection or chasing validation?
Yes. And then try dating someone who's, actually available.
Even if it feels boring at first.
Especially if it feels boring, because boring might just be healthy.
And give it time. Peace grows on you.
It really does.
What about if you're avoidant?
If you're avoidant and you keep choosing anxious people, notice when you're withdrawing. And instead of ghosting or pulling back silently, communicate.
Like, I need some alone time, but I'll call you tomorrow.
Exactly. Give reassurance while honoring your needs.
And challenge yourself to stay when it feels uncomfortable.
Yes, not every feeling of discomfort means danger.
Sometimes discomfort is just growth.
Yes, that's exactly right.
This has been such a powerful conversation.
It really has. And I think we should end with one more thing.
What's that?
If you're in this trap right now, it's not your fault.
You're not broken.
No, you're just repeating what feels familiar.
And familiar can be unlearned.
Yes, it takes time, it takes work, but it's possible.
And you deserve a relationship that doesn't feel like a battlefield.
You really do.
I think that's a beautiful place to move into our word journey.
Yes, let's revisit the key vocabulary from today. Let's start with a phrase we used a lot today, the anxious-avoidant trap.
The anxious-avoidant trap is a relationship pattern where an anxiously attached person and an avoidant person trigger each other's core fears, creating a cycle of pursuing and withdrawing.
For example, the more the anxious person seeks closeness, the more the avoidant person pulls away. And the more the avoidant person pulls away, the more the anxious person pursues.
Or you might say, they've been stuck in the anxious-avoidant trap for 2 years.
Repeat. Anxious-avoidant trap.
Next, let's look at attachment system.
Your attachment system is the part of your brain that monitors closeness and connection and sends alarm signals when you feel too distant or too close to someone.
For example, when your partner doesn't text back and you feel anxious, that's your attachment system activating.
Or when someone gets too close emotionally and you feel the urge to pull away, that's also your attachment system.
Repeat. Attachment system. Now, an important concept, self-fulfilling prophecy.
A self-fulfilling prophecy is when you create the outcome you fear through your own behavior.
For example, if you fear abandonment and become clingy, your partner may leave, which confirms your fear.
Or if you fear being controlled and always pull away, your partner may become more demanding, which confirms your fear. Self-fulfilling prophecy.
Let's talk about the word familiar.
In relationships, familiar means something that feels known or comfortable because it matches your past experiences, even if those experiences were painful.
For example, dating emotionally unavailable people might feel familiar if your parents were emotionally unavailable.
Or chaos might feel familiar if you grew up in an unstable home.
Familiar.
Next is a useful phrase, breaking the autopilot.
Breaking the autopilot means noticing when you're about to repeat an old pattern and consciously choosing to respond differently.
For example, if you usually chase people who pull away, breaking the autopilot means recognizing that urge and choosing to walk away instead.
Or if you usually withdraw when things get serious, breaking the autopilot means staying and communicating, even though it feels uncomfortable.
Breaking the autopilot.
An important word, pursue.
To pursue means to chase or seek someone's attention and affection, often when they're pulling away.
For example, she kept pursuing him even though he clearly wanted space.
Or anxious people tend to pursue when they feel someone withdrawing.
Pursue.
Let's look at withdraw.
To withdraw means to pull back emotionally or physically from someone or a situation, often to create distance or protect yourself.
For example, he tends to withdraw when conversations get too emotional.
Or, avoidant people often withdraw when relationships become too intimate.
Withdraw. Now let's talk about core belief.
A core belief is a deep, often unconscious belief about yourself or relationships that was formed early in life and influences your behavior as an adult.
For example, an anxious person's core belief might be, I am not enough.
Or an avoidant person's core belief might be, if I let people close, they will hurt me or control me.
Core belief. And finally, let's talk about the word sustainable.
Something is sustainable when it can be maintained over time without causing burnout or collapse.
Those were some powerful words from today.
They really were. And I hope they help you recognize not just the pattern, but the way out.
Because you're not doomed to repeat this.
No, you can choose differently.
It won't be easy, and it won't feel natural at first, but it's possible.
So if this episode resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe to the Archetype Archive.
And leave a like if this helped you see your patterns more clearly.
And please, share your story in the comments. Have you been in this trap?
Or maybe you've successfully broken it.
Remember to comment the word pattern if you've lived this dynamic.
We read every single comment. Your stories inspire us.
Take care of your heart.
And be patient with yourself as you learn new ways of loving.
This is Jordan.
And this is Maya.
And you've been listening to the Archetype Archive.
Until next time.
Bye.